All right, it is exactly 8:30. Good morning to you. Thanks for being locked on to the Power Breakfast Show, the third hour right here on radio. You can watch Power 102 empowering you. And of course, online, we do have
Councillor Kyron James from Mayaro Guayari. Good morning, Councillor.
Good morning, everyone, and how are you guys going?
We are great. Looking forward to grilling you right now.
Morning.
I look forward to be grilled, but before the grilling starts, this is a breakfast party. Where's the breakfast?
You're supposed to bring it.
Kyron,
I
I ask that every morning. I walk in and I say, Steve, where's my breakfast? Because part of my arrangement with Steve was sada roti and coffee. It hasn't happened yet.
There's something wrong with that. You need to relook that arrangement.
I know. I need to sort out my remuneration package. I do. I seriously do.
Too late. They signed the dotted line already.
Ha. I saw no dots. There was no line. Okay,
Morning, Councillor. This is Wendell. Let me allow myself to wish you happy anniversary. I know that you just celebrated an anniversary with your wife. I saw the celebrations being played out on Facebook. Happy anniversary.
Oh, thank you very much.
You mean the St. Lucia trip?
We had the opportunity to visit at Sandals, and if what I experienced at that Sandals is coming to Tobago, we have nothing to worry about.
All right.
I understand St. Lucia Sandals is the best one to go to.
Okay.
It is. In my opinion, it is.
So let's get into it.
Okay, right. So we are part of what we're trying to do here is sensitize our listeners to the role of councillors, and so that they can start to think about local government elections and how they're going to go about selecting councillors. You are currently the councillor for Mayaro Guayari. Am I correct?
You are 100% correct.
Right, and the constituency you are in is the Mayaro constituency.
Yes.
And you are a PNM councillor in a regional corporation that's held by the United National Congress, correct?
That is also correct.
All right, good. I think that is about all I know about you now. So let me start asking questions. What are your roles and responsibilities? Because I'm never sure what's the difference between a councillor and an MP.
Well, and that is a very good question, Rhoda. And I think the mere fact that people don't understand what the differences are, it makes both the MP's job as well as the councillor's job very difficult. The councillors are basically responsible for all issues that fall directly under the purview of the Mayaro Guayari Regional Corporation or any regional corporation. For example, sanitation, drainage and roadworks. And those drainage and roadworks do not extend to the major roads, because the major roads is controlled by the Ministry of Works Highways Division, and the minor roads would fall under the local government body. We're also responsible for cemeteries and parks. We're responsible for all recreation grounds and that kind of thing. So there is a separation of what the local government representative or the councillor does and what the MP does. So I'm glad that we're able to have a little discussion this morning to draw some sort of comparison and give people an idea of what are some of the differences between the two. So they both have to work hand in hand for the betterment of the constituency.
So if I need my garbage picked up, I have to call you?
If you need your garbage picked up, if you have issues with the way that your garbage is being picked up, you can raise that through either the regional corporation or through your regional or through your councillor.
And if there's bush in the drains and I'm living on a minor road, I have to call you?
Yes, you do. And those are some of the things that people they don't normally do unless it gets to an extent where it's overgrown. And I even heard this morning one of your co-hosts this morning talking about a piece of property that was overgrown with bushes. And not all properties that are overgrown with bushes, or not all drains that are overgrown with bushes, fall under the remit of the regional corporation, because you have, as I mentioned before, some of them may fall under the drainage department, with works and whatnot.
So how are you supposed to know? Because if I'm a member of your community, and I just find something is very unattractive from an aesthetic point of view, I have to do the detective work. Can't I just come to you and you sort it out?
Yes. The easiest way and most direct way would be to go to your local government rep, because your local government rep basically lobbies for and on behalf of you. Now, while the issue may not be directly under the control of the councillor, he or she will be able to liaise with either the Department of Works or from have CPAP get involved, or if it's us, then go to the regional corporation, the health team, and have that problem sorted out. So the councillor is like the main person, the point person. This is the guy you go to when you have the issues. And an effective councillor should be able to understand which are some of the areas or which are some of the agencies that will be responsible for the issue that you're highlighting.
Councillor, just to zero in a bit on your particular area, describe for us your area in terms of the boundaries and what are some of the challenges you face in your particular district.
My area, as Rhoda mentioned, is the Mayaro Guayguayari district. It is boundaried by the Atlantic Ocean in the east, an area called Cedar Grove in the west that runs along the African River. The Naparima Mayaro Road that runs from San Fernando all the way down to the beach, basically down Plaisance. That is the boundary on the northern side. And the southern side, it was all the way down in Guayguayari, but the last election there was a change in the boundary. So now part of Guayguayari actually is split into two electoral districts. So part of Guayguayari now falls into Rio Claro South.
Now, Councillor James, what you're describing is a massive area, you know.
It's humongous, and that is what I was just going to mention, the challenges, because the area itself is a big area, and we have areas between Mayaro and Guayguayari that are not heavily habitated by people, so there's not a lot of people in between there to serve it. But the distance between the Mayaro and the Guayguayari is a humongous area, but that is the electoral district that has been given, that has been there, and the only change that was made was probably about 3.5 years ago when they took part of Mayaro Guayguayari and put it into Rio Claro South. And that by itself is an issue because people in Guaya would obviously think that if you live in Guaya, your councillor should be Tyron James. When you live in a certain part of Guaya, your councillor lives all the way in Rio Claro, and he doesn't come down or he isn't in the area as often as I am. So it's kind of difficult because now we have to kind of split the responsibility and split the resources to service people that previously would have been totally in my electoral district.
So the two of you liaise with each other because, I mean, clearly the Burgesses will come to you on things that have to do with him, or maybe vice versa. So are you in regular contact with him then?
In all fairness to the representative for that area, we do meet on a weekly basis. We see each other on a weekly basis, and most of the times when people come to me with concerns, I tend to try to get it sorted out, even though it's not in my electoral district. Because people kind of identify with Tyron James as the representative from Mayaro Guayguayari. So there are a few times when there was something that was brought to my attention and I couldn't directly or indirectly get involved in, that I had to bring in the councillor for Rio Claro South. But there was 1 or 2 times that I actually had to have a conversation for him to get involved. Because as it relates to being able to do jobs and projects in that area, as much as I would want to help, that does not fall in my district, and I don't have the access to resources or to labor to get things done in there.
Well, Councillor, just going back to the original question, what are some of the challenges you face in your particular district?
And I'm gonna get slightly political here because I mean that's how it is. I'm a politician.
Exactly.
And it boils down to politics most of the time. My district is one of the PNM controlled districts, Mayaro Guayguayari as well as Coca Mafikin. We have 2 electoral districts that are PNM controlled in the Mayaro Regional Corporation, which is controlled by the UNC. And there is a perception, and sometimes it's even proven that a lot of the resources are guided towards areas that are controlled by the UNC, the Rio Claro South, the Rio Claro North, Beach, Charuma, and Ecclesville. So one of my major challenges is lack of resources and the starvation somewhat of these resources because of political victimization. And now I have to use these little resources that I do have to try as much as possible to serve it. And it's a little bit. We know it's a little bit. And I get that much less than the little bit. So I have to try to utilize that to make sure that everybody gets a fair share, and that is somewhat impossible sometimes.
But what's the population count in your district?
My district comprises about 6,000 to 7,000 people.
Eligible voters?
No, that's the population. Eligible voters would fall somewhere between 25 to 3,000, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
I stand to be corrected as well.
In terms of, because I know a lot on the horizon, even though the local government elections will be coming up, the issue, of course, has been local government reform, which has been bandied about as much as parking meters, I guess. But in terms of local government reform, is local government really necessary in an island that this is this small? So is it that the roles of councillors and people who run the various districts just overrated and a waste of resources, and we really should be operating from a system of ministries and MPs dealing with respective districts? What's your opinion?
I cannot agree with that for two obvious reasons. One, I decided to get into local government because I believe in what local government can offer. I think that the system itself is not working to its optimal ability, hence the reason local government reform is important. You have a system right now where you have members of parliament and you have local government representatives. A member of parliament is the one contact person for an entire constituency. Now, I am catching my nene, so to speak, with one electoral district. So what if you were left out of that if you didn't have local government representatives and you had an MP alone that was supposed to oversee this entire thing and do everything and try to meet everyone's needs? It is important to have a local government body. It is important to have a local government body that works and a local government representative that is efficient. That is the most important thing. Don't just be a councillor because you like people to call you councillor. Get involved because you want to represent the people properly. Get involved because you want to see your vision, as large or as small as it may be, impacted on your community. So I do believe, sir, that local government is important, and I think that local government representatives are just as important, or mind you, probably even more important than a member of parliament, because of the amount of work that we have to do, the amount of people that we have to interact with, and the amount of time it takes. Wendell just mentioned that I went on a little getaway with my wife for anniversary, and I felt a little bit guilty leaving. Because I know how much people depend on local government representatives. I know how much they depend on me for their services. So, yes, sir, local government and local government representatives are totally necessary.
Councillor, what have been your challenges? Now, I feel funny asking you questions, naturally, because I mean, I've been in local government for a little while. But what are some of your challenges in terms of visibility? Because, there are quite a lot of people who say sometimes they're not seeing their councillor.
Plenty of people don't even know who their councillor is.
True. So have you had those challenges, and how are you dealing with it?
I have... you can't be everywhere, and people aren't able to see you all the time. Now, I can't speak for other local government representatives, and I don't know what sort of information that you guys may have, but I consider myself to be a very accessible and approachable representative. I utilize social media to interact with people. I have my office days. I try to make myself. I have always been a community person, so I'm always in the community. I have always been in the community. So being able to get to people is not a problem. My job, I work in Galita Point in Guaya, so I leave Mayaro and I come to Guaya every day. So I transverse between both areas. So within the realm of my job and being able to be accessible to all, or accessible to at least most of everyone, that is not one of my challenges. It is a little bit concerning because of the size of the area, but I make myself totally accessible, totally reachable, and I utilize all of the technological advances that we have to try to keep that communication line open between myself and the residents.
Okay, we're going to go for a quick break, so stay on the line, and we'll be back with Councillor Kyron James. So, Councillor James, I want to ask, you must be aware of some of the local government reforms that the current government has put forward. Right. In your opinion, what are some of the policies they've put forward that would enable you to do your job better?
Rhoda, I like that question, and I'll tell you why I like that question. When I have my meeting days with residents, one particular issue is the biggest issue that I have as it relates to people coming on the issues, and that issue pertains to social services and the access to social services. And because I am a local government representative and I don't have direct control or a direct say over how these services are measured.
You're talking about food cards. You can say food cards.
And some of these other grants. It's difficult because we know the people. We are on the ground. We have a direct line with these people. And when I'm not saying that the social welfare the ministry is not doing what they're supposed to do, but I think it's going to be better served with local government representatives, the local bodies, not really in charge, but having a say of how these services are shared.
But it's not a recipe for disaster.
I agree with 100%. Is moving schools and some of these public buildings under the remit of the regional corporation. Nearly every year, every school term, the open level school term since I've been counselor, we've had issues from either one of the schools where the construction is non-pointed, it hasn't been done, they still have issues, and it's because of the red tape that you have to go through with the FCL, and these people have to come down, and it's more difficult to do it when you have the people who are responsible not located locally. If I am the representative in my electoral district, I know I have X amount of primary schools and secondary schools in my area. I have a great relationship with all the PTAs and the principals of these schools. So we will be able to talk and say, all right, councillor, these are some of the things that we need done. School is going to close in a couple of weeks. What can we ensure, or how can we ensure that these jobs are sorted out? And then 3, with these services coming back into the community, it gives local contractors an opportunity to be able to access these jobs. Just last
Yes,
year,
but you may not be getting best value for money. So that
Sorry?
because ultimately it's taxpayers who are going to have to be paying for that, and you may not be getting best value for money if you're restricting it to local contractors in any given area.
No. Well, that is what I was just going to mention. Yes, it would be good, and I don't think I agree with you saying that you're not going to have best value for money, but there may be
I said you may not.
There. But what I'm saying is, if I am a contractor that lives with, I'm a registered, qualified contractor, not just giving it to anybody because you have a contract. You're a qualified contractor and you live in the area. You have more to gain, or you would understand what are some of the issues within the community. So if there's let's say for example you're a contractor, I'm quite certain that you may have a child going to that school, or you know someone who's going to that school, and you would have an invested interest in trying to ensure that whatever job is done, and is done to the best of your ability. We had last term a contractor from out of Mayaro. He started a job in the Mayaro Government Primary School. In the middle of the job, he said he can't do it again because of a personal nature. Left the job, bathrooms hung up, tiles taken out in the ground, toilets all over the place, because he had nothing invested in the community. So I think being able to give more, probably not only restricted to local contractors, but give more local contractors access, that's also going to be a plus.
I agree.
Well, I don't know. I think Trinidad and Tobago is so small, and the experience with local contractors, I think from the vast majority of Trinidadians and Tobagonians listening, even if you're a householder and they're doing some improvement on your house, it's not a beaming report card they will get.
Well, but that is, okay, that seems that's a problem with quality control across the board.
Yeah.
And the fact that we have lots of industries here with very few checks and balances.
Yeah. I think that's a problem. I think that's where the problem lies.
People don't necessarily have to be qualified to be a contractor.
Exactly.
You just set up a company and say that I am a contractor.
Yeah.
Whereas in other countries you have to actually you've got to get a certain level of certification and qualification and pass exams to be able to give yourself.
I think that's where we probably have to go.
But that's why
Councillor
Caron was specific when he said registered people.
No, but you see, we could be registered and not really qualified. You know?
Yeah, you could have a registered business and not be qualified for the
Right, that is why I said registered and qualified.
Okay.
Not just because you have a company, you should get the job. You should be able to show, that you're able to do the job.
But Councillor, in a country of Trinidad and Tobago, where it has been said that there's a lot of corruption, it has been said that there's a lot of friend get this and friend get that, and if you're a councillor and you're in charge of giving contracts, and that's what I'm saying, the process lends itself to being inefficient.
No, I don't think,
in terms of value for money.
After local government reform is done, that councillors are going to have a say, and that still remains an administrative process. The councillors, we still don't have the opportunity to say who gets a contract. That is not a political decision. We have the administration of the council, of the regional corporation, who has the responsibility of doing that. Currently, there's no supply chain set up anywhere, so the process itself is faulty. Supply chain is also another improvement that is going to come with the local government reform, and that is going to help with being able to select the right people for the right job, not because I know this fella down you without giving me a job. You come, you bid, you go through the bid, you make sure that you're able to respond and follow the guidelines, and if you win, then you go ahead.
No, I think you're being a little bit disingenuous there. This is Trinidad, where everybody likes to get a blight, and everybody always, I go help out my partner, or they come in to check to see the councillor, and
send in your bid, you'll get it, don't worry, you'll get it.
So, but I will ease you up a little bit there. Richard right now has steam coming through his nose and ears. No. Look at you, Richard. Councillor, are you willing to take some phone calls? Are you willing to take some calls?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So we're going to open up the lines. 222-TALK, 222-8255. Feel free to call Councillor Kyron James and ask him any pressing questions you may have.
All right,
we have a call
already
on the line. Good morning, caller.
Morning to you and the panel.
Yes, good morning.
Morning,
I
sir.
have two quick questions for the councillor.
Sure.
Very important. Number one, is the dependence of the people on a local government representative appropriate or realistic under the circumstances? And two, how do you distinguish people demands and community demands? Thank you.
To answer first question of the caller, it is what it is. It's not the best thing because I have had people calling me to ask about some simple things that I know people themselves can do. Street lights not working, there's a number of calls for that. But my office handles that because that's how the system is. And yes, I believe there's too much of a dependency on local government practitioners, but there's very little that we can do at this present time to change that. Eventually, once the system evolves, we might be able to change that. And I can't remember what the second question was.
How you differentiate?
How do you differentiate between people issue and community issue? Like individual versus community issue?
Oh, well, I mean, personal issues, to me they're one and the same, but there are a lot of the personal issues that, I mean, we try to manage without getting everyone else involved. There are people that come to my office for asking personal questions about employment, asking for help about not being able to provide for their children. And those personal questions or those personal issues, I have to then forward them to the relevant ministries because there's not everything, I mean, that the council is able to do. So you have the social welfare ministry, you have self-help, you have all these other people to be able to help with that. So being able to separate personnel from community is a bit tricky, but it can be done.
It seems as if you're making an argument for that local government is really not that essential because you're just a filtering system a lot of the time.
I think you will see everything as that argument this morning, Richard. Is there a call on the line?
No, man. You're being unfair to council.
I'm not talking about him personally, you know. I'm talking about generally. The system seems to be a filtering system.
I mean, I don't agree with it. It's valid because people may think that it's not important to have that person lobby on your behalf as it relates to things that happen in the community.
I think the councillor is also being humble because there are some things that you just won't say that you do because you can't. People will accuse you of blowing your own trumpet.
Karen, I want to ask this question. Do you think that the population is sufficiently enabled to understand how they can access resources themselves or access help themselves? Because I've listened to you and other councillors in the past talk about how overwhelmed and swamped they are by calls and requests and people needing assistance. But do you think the population knows or understands how to go about helping itself?
Well, I think some of the population knows and then some of the population knows but just don't care. I'll be honest with you. It's easier. We like to be able to talk to someone. Example, at the airport, you now have these kiosks where you could go and check in and do everything without actually having to interact with anyone. And people don't like using that because they would have gotten accustomed to interacting with someone, with a person. So yes, people may be aware, and a lot of the people who are aware just don't really care. They would prefer to deal with someone else to deal with them. And then there are the few people that just don't know.
You're right, because look at how long banks have had these systems, fast deposits and so on, and very few people use them.
Okay, Councillor, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Yes. We appreciate you taking the time out to speak to us about your issues.
And good luck with your bid to be sent back as the PNM representative for Mayaro Guayari.
Thank you very much, Rhoda. Right. Thank you very much to the team.
All right, Councillor. Take care.
Thank you. Take care.
And
that was Councillor Kyron James of the Mayaro Guayari Electoral District.
He's one of the better councillors.
Yes, in the constituency of Mayaro. Yes.
Yeah. Yep.